David Paul Meyer, you're the director of The Daily Show. Now, Trevor Noah left the show towards the end of 2022, and since then, the show cycled through a number of guest hosts and also correspondents hosting the show. What has it been like adapting to the different personalities and comedic styles of the rotating hosts?
Well, it's definitely it doesn't get boring here with all the talent that passes through, and I think where we're at now with our news team hosting, so obviously John and then Jordan Klepper and Desi Leidick, Michael Costa, Ronnie Chang, uh, Dulce Sloan's hosted a couple weeks ago, and it's been really interesting to see how they approach the script and how they perform it, and just sort of learning their rhythms of their performance style. And I will say, before that we had that guest host run where it was a different guest host each week, and that almost, to be honest with you, it got me in that mindset of, having worked with Trevor for many years and sort of day in day out working with him. That transition to the guest hosts kind of in a way prepared me for what we're doing now with John on Mondays, but then the other members of the news team hosting on the other shows. So each person has their own style. Luckily with the correspondents, a lot of them I have worked with over the years from just being at the show. So to be honest, John was the person who was the newest for me, because I had not previously worked with him up until when he came in February. So that's been very exciting and a real thrill to work with him and learn, how he approaches the work and see it up close and up front. It's been really exciting. And with the other correspondents, just continuing building on what we've been doing over the last several years that we've all been here together.
As you mentioned, Jon Stewart has returned to the show on a part-time basis this year for the election year. How did that come about? Him returning to the show.
I mean, it was just a big surprise. One day they had us all there on all hands, and he literally came out of the wings, and it was like, surprise. So that was, in terms of how it came to be from my side, that's how I understand how it came to be. But yeah, it was super exciting. That was quite a kind of surreal day, to be honest with you, when it was announced when he came out to show us that he would be coming back here to do shows. And it's been, like I said, seeing his mind works is incredible. I think one thing I always notice, having now worked with him now in a few episodes, is John is always doing the script that is in the prompter, or performing the script that they had written, but you can see how his mind, how brilliant he is, because it's almost as if he's in parallel performing another script in his head, and he'll feel the moment out. He's so focused on the moment and the performance and what he's saying and doing and what the audience is, how they're reacting or anticipating how the home audience might react, that you can feel that he's sort of melding together the script and his internal John dialogue into something really special. And that has been like a real cool thing to observe.
With so much change on the show over the last year and a half, has the typical Daily Show day, really changed from a directing standpoint in the control room, or from that perspective, is it kind of a well-oiled machine at this point?
It's definitely a well-oiled machine, but it's a well-oiled machine that's used to every day being different. So depending on the news, depending on who's now hosting the show, depending on who else is going to be on the show that day, you can see each day kind of having its own unique flavor and each episode having its own unique elements to it. So like when John's show, his first show back in February, he did a whip with all the correspondents, and that was really fun because we had basically a on location chat with all of them in different parts of, I guess it was a diner or something, I think that they were, and just kind of that choreography and the writing of the jokes and how to execute it in the studio space was a lot of fun. So that was one day. And then every day there's like any day there's a chat with, because it's very much about the news team. They chat with each other a lot more now. It's not just one host at the desk. You almost always see somebody else on every episode doing something. And so because of that unique sort of connection between host and correspondent, every day has its own different thing that we like to do. And then the other thing that we've been doing more as well on the show is music. We had Vampire Weekend on the week that their most recent album came out about a month ago, and they had 14 performers. So they had the band members, they had an 8-person choir, they had a sitar player, they had a DJ, so a producer who was performing. So that was certainly not a same old situation. That was very unique. And so I think it's a nice mix of, you're always going to have the person there with that over-the-shoulder graphic commentating and satirizing the news, but visually we try to interject unique elements and interactions that makes each episode feel authentic to itself.
Now, this is an especially big year for The Daily Show since 2024 is a presidential election year. What's the atmosphere like on the show during a really intense political period?
I mean, it's definitely buzzing here every day, and there's always the sort of march towards the election day that's happening, and I think there's just an extra layer of engagement just throughout the day. I mean, just from the standpoint of the fact that the show is going on the road for both conventions. So we'll be in Milwaukee for the RNC in July, and then we'll be in Chicago for the DNC in August. And just basically bringing the show on the road and coming up with a set for the road, and how to make the show in this location, how to make the show in that location, how do we get people into the convention and doing pieces on the ground there. That is a whole operation that has to be worked on well in advance. We've been working on it for quite a while now. And that is all happening on top of the fact that, like, hey, Monday through Thursday, we also have to put an episode of television on the air. So you definitely find, things are in overdrive here. You're either working on the show that day or something for next week, or the special thing that Jon wants to talk about coming up, or the convention coverage and what we're going to do there. So yeah, it's definitely things are abuzz.
And the show got to celebrate winning the Emmy for Best Talk Series earlier this year. It was supposed to be in September, but of course the strikes delayed that until January. What was that experience like, winning that? What were your thoughts going through your head, when the show was announced as the winner?
I mean, I just immediately remember being just so pumped and excited. I mean, what a journey. I've talked about it on these panels before. Trevor and I go back to 2008. So it felt like a really great thing that the show could share in as a whole. And all the people who went up on stage are such an important, all the writers and the producers and, all the members of the crew and everybody who had participated, we all kind of shared in that win together. And that was really special. And I really felt like a part of that, of the Daily Show team. And that was amazing. And then, also simultaneously, there was a special sort of arc for, I think, Trevor and I, and what we had gone through as friends and colleagues and working together even before the Daily Show was a reality for us. It was great. It was I was touched, definitely was like feeling a million, all great emotions, but a bunch of them at once, to the point where, like, when I was like hugging Trevor backstage and trying to say something, I couldn't even think of the words to say, but we looked at each other. We knew, like, it was one of those moments where you're like, you honestly didn't have to say anything, because it was just a great culmination of a lot of things. And then, just being happy with all the people that we're in the office with every day, and getting to celebrate with people like that, people like Jen Flans, our showrunner, and seeing her and how she had gone from doing the show with Jon to now doing it with Trevor. And, like, I think all of us, like, really felt like, more than anything, this was like a really special team moment that we all got to share in together. Yeah, Elise Terrell, who's another producer, like she and I go way back here, and I remember seeing her how happy she was, and seeing how happy like Brittany Raddick, who I work with, and Jocelyn Kahn, all these folks who work at the show, getting to see them celebrate backstage was like its own sort of celebratory thing, to see how people experienced it as well as how I was experiencing it. Seeing Trevor experience it, it was truly it was awesome.
Well, I want to congratulate you for your work on the show, for the Emmy, and everything that's to come with the election year. Knock on wood, everything goes smoothly, as smoothly as things can go in American politics these days. So thank you so much for talking with us, and I'll talk to you a little later.
Sounds good. Thanks, Daniel.